so many of you had asked for these. And I kept telling you, Meta said they're sending them, Meta said they're sending them. And I've given up. I don't know if they're ever sending them. So I went to Best Buy of all places and spent 40 bucks on literally a set of hand straps for the Quest 3. Let's check them out. 40 bucks. And that had some controversy when this first came out, but all MetaZone accessories are usually very overpriced. These are very similar to the ones I already have. You know I've been rocking these for a while. I like these. These are the Apex Inno hand straps. They replace your battery door just like those do with something a little more textured. They have a clip that goes in the bottom that hangs off of, and then you can adjust these pretty quickly on the fly, bigger, smaller, whatever you need. They were likely modeled after these exact same ones. These are Meta ones, which also have a braided hand strap. If I had to pick either one, I actually think the Apex Inno one feels better. Keep in mind, I've had it a while, so it might have worn down. This one just has like a little bit of sharpness to it. Maybe people like that though. Maybe it holds on really well. I'm gonna replace one of these so we can really contrast side by side. I do have the Meta charging dock battery that charges on the dock itself, still in the controller. This is made to supposedly work with that, so it shouldn't be an issue. It slips in where yours originally was, where your hand strap was, so it does replace the wrist strap. And yeah, this is really a lot like this one. The only thing I would say is a little nicer is in the back here. This is all glued in place. It's not gonna turn from side to side. Where some people have had complaints, it's only one little spot. And so what happens is when you go to put it in, this doesn't always stay right where it should like that. It can get over here and then the controller won't shut. You have to be careful with this. This looks like it's not gonna have that issue. Yeah, that definitely goes in with an OEM factory style feel. I don't know if it makes them worth 5 times the price. If you're used to using the Apex Innos, it feels very familiar. I do feel like the Apex Inno strap, I like the hand feel a little bit better though, because it's also a more rigid strap. It's got a little bit of a sharp edge. And for me right now, this end is impacting my hand harder than this end. You can even see there's some space on this side. So it just kind of feels like it's cutting into my hand. Where with this strap, it lands really nice on both sides and feels a little nicer, but the battery door on this, it's obviously made by Meta. It feels perfect. I said 5 times the price because when I got these, they were $8. They have gone up. You'll see them at 15, but it could be on sale 12, 10. The price varies. At that original price, it's 5 times. It's now almost 3 times the price. As I've said though, the battery door is obviously made by Meta and perfect. You can see how there's a little bit of a gap on the Apex Inno one it creates because it's not a perfect fit. And then on the Meta one, it looks like it was meant to be this way. So you compare the feel of something else like the Hibloks, silicone ones we just reviewed. These are more for if you like the stock control, you like the way it feels in your hand. It doesn't need to be bigger, thicker. You get something like silicone, it gets a little thicker, it gets a little grippier in your hand. That comes down to a lot of personal preference there. I personally have found so far, until we get controller grips that actually extend the controller and make it a little bit bigger, I have been enjoying how this one just fits on there really easily and works. On the back of the hand, this one is a lot more comfortable. I'm surprised by that. This one could get better as it wears in a little bit. I think they call these the active straps though, so they want these to not slide on you if they get sweaty or anything, but you can see those ribs like stick up. They feel like that on the back of your hand. They feel almost like they're little dull razor blades. They're not gonna cut you or anything, but you feel every one of those sticking into your hand. So for sheer comfort on your hands, for now, I'm surprisingly giving it to the cheaper Apex Innos. Both of them use metal clips on the bottom, so both of them are gonna be super durable. Although the funny thing, I feel like the Apex Inno one, it's got a much thicker metal. It does look like it would be more durable, but I don't think you could break this one even if you tried. And you know me, we're gonna try. How durable are you? It's solid. I feel if I put more pressure, I'm gonna break my controller, not the thing that's going into it. Same with the Apex though. I mean, it's metal. It's gonna mess up your controller more than anything if you really try. So don't recommend that at home. Let me take these, do some game testing, feel what it's like when I'm really active, moving around, flying around. But so far I will say side by side, it feels very similar for a very different price point, but I'll get back at you in a sec. A couple other quick questions you wanted to know about here. They're made by Meta. That means we should be able to assume they're gonna work with their charging dock. But as we learned before, I do feel like the strap, although I do sometimes have to adjust my Apex straps around, I feel like the strap could, if you just dropped it, mess it up. You kind of just wanna push it in and make sure, which I've seen that same thing even with these straps. If they're in the wrong spot, although now that I say that, they're gonna be perfect. Sometimes if they get in just the wrong spot, like if they get out here or something, they might keep it. So you just have to make sure they land on there. So working with the dock, so that's an improvement I would say over some of the other things we've seen. And then people ask about cases, kind of the same problem we saw with the Apex, but not with some of these silicone grip ones. The silicone grips don't really stick a long ways off the bottom, so they may slip in nicer. See how much lower that one is than that one. But these, because they have that extra metal sticking off the back where a lot of cases aren't accommodating that, it does make them hover up a bit more. Not that it's gonna be a major issue. I mean, once you strap them down, it's probably not gonna matter at all. but it is something to think about depending on if your current case really doesn't accommodate that or not. A couple things I noticed that I wanted to bring up. It's a small detail, but I really did like how it's made out of the same plastic as the actual controller. Although this seems like it might be nice because it's a little more grippy, you kind of get this disconnect in your hand where half your hand is feeling this and half your hand is feeling this, and you just kind of notice it feels wrong with something like this. Obviously, if you get a silicone controller, you're not gonna have that issue. The silicone wraps all the way around. But I found I was appreciating the fact that the controller just felt very uniform. It felt like the stock controller a bit more again because all the plastic matched. It does line up perfectly on the edges. The hand part though, it never got any better. And yes, if I was playing a sweaty game, it held on fine, but so do these. I played the sweatiest of games in these. So that didn't really matter in my mind for fitness. Some people have claimed that because it's using a combination of hand tracking and controller tracking, they've noticed tracking issues because this is so far from skin color. I don't know that this would be any better, and that all depends on skin tones or even something like this. I can't say I definitely found that to be causing an issue, but that is something to think about because if it's looking for a whole hand, you've now got a pretty big band possibly covering your hand. But what I feel like it finally comes down to is not, are these worth it, but are these worth it enough to pay so much more than these? And for that question, I'm gonna say no. I feel like 40 bucks is too much. If you bought these, you've been rocking them, you probably love them. Like if you've gotten over the fact that they were 40 bucks for a set of hand straps, they are great. They fit your hand well, they stay, you just have that freedom. And especially if you went from a stock controller to this, it's night and day. But for me, who's been using these, which are basically these already for what I paid a fifth of the price, these just feel like they're just as good, almost, and way, way cheaper. But that doesn't mean I can knock these. I just think they're overpriced. But if you're here and you've really been wondering about these, you want a high quality product, you want something that you feel like is gonna perfectly match the controller and the seams are gonna stay just right, I will leave a link for you with those caveats that I think you're paying too much, but they do feel just right on the controller. I will also leave a link to my favorites though, because these are a lot cheaper and I still feel like these are the way to go. For me personally, these are still gonna be on my main quest, but I don't know, I paid 40 bucks. I kind of want to return these. If I do keep them, I think these would become my backup set, but 40 bucks is a lot of money. So what do you think out there? We've got tons of different grips we've tried, different options for you here. Number one, number two, if I keep them. If I don't keep them, number three, I've been using these. I'll leave a link to these too, just in case. These are just, if you like all silicone, but there is a set from Aubika. Aubika was my favorite last generation. They made a grip that not only wrapped the controller in silicone, it replaced the batteries, it gave you a port to charge the batteries from the outside, and it had a nice hand strap that was easily adjustable for different people, so it could fit them quickly and be released quickly. And it looks like Aubika's might kind of do all of that for the Quest 3. So I'll give you my recommendations here, but maybe hold out because those look like they're coming soon. Aubika said they're sending some for us to check. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What are you rocking out there? Are you still waiting for the best set to come out? I kind of am too. But let me know and I will see you in another reality.